Greetings, I am Solidus-Skully, and welcome back to Resident Evil 2. We got you on location. The electronic map is working as perfectly as it can. 0110909 And, okay, yeah, that's strange, I seem to be lagging a lot here. Well, that's the difficulty you get when you try and record things. I think I might have accidentally pressed the pause button, because, actually something to clear up about Resident Evil 2. There are two different pause screens, one of which is the menu screen, which, you used to map out your commands, your options, and all that sort of stuff. And then there's the, item screen. And I think in the PS1 version it's mapped to, start and select. Yeah, in the Dreamcast version it's a little bit more, iffy, because you have a lot more limited buttons to work with, so, yeah, try not pressing the Y button, or whatever. I mean, thanks to the fact that you actually can map out the, button commands in this game, it does kind of mitigate that so you can set up your own control scheme, which, all games should have. But nonetheless. Now, considering the fact that Sherrison Birkin has run off and, well, at this point, as you can tell by the last cutscene in the previous part, yes, this is after Leon has chased after Ada! Wait! So now we're left in a state of, well, stopping liquors and going into rooms that he's already been through, so I think this is, one of the more subtle examples of how the zapping mechanic could have worked. Having different sorts of enemies in places which Leon has already explored. Again, I've mentioned this time and time again, but it's a feature that could have been far better implemented than in fact it was, but never mind. Also, more of a factor of the fact that I have to reduce the volume, you also don't get to listen to the, the beautiful soundtrack going on right here, the ambient hum. Well, except for part 4, when I forgot to lower the decibels of the audio because I'm a bit of a fuck-up. So, yeah, part 4 is the only place where you get to hear it, and you barely get to hear my dulcet tones. Then again, I did bring up the zapping mechanic being used as a positive example earlier with the liquor in place of the zombies, but that doesn't quite explain why we have to do this puzzle again. And it's especially weird considering the fact that, considering what we're going to unlock, Leon should technically have already done this. So yeah, it's the electricity puzzle. Up, up, down, down, up. And bada bing, we do the thing, and we'll get our items, which in fact we will not, because we took them as Leon previously. And also a chance to rectify a bit of a fuck-up I made in Leon's scenario. Yeah, think of it as, I initially said that, male Resident Evil characters have less item space than females. I think that was only applicable to Resident Evil 1, because I think both Claire and Leon have the same amount of item space in this game. Which, the side pack allows you to get a little bit more item space. So, yeah, it's a bit of a fuck-up on me. I think I was mostly running under Resident Evil 1 logic, so, yeah, whoopsie-daisies. Although, then again, I suppose that probably would have made the side pack more applicable towards Leon had the logic been true, rather than Claire. But even still, it would have been useful either way, because, everybody loves having more item space. But yeah, you can actually see in the item screen, see the little side hose nozzle thing connecting to the other side? Yeah, that's part of the menu. Whereas with Leon, if you could probably remember, his was taking up all 8 spaces, whereas, Claire only has 6, or 8, I can't quite remember, because I'm scatterbrained right now. But anyway, this huge chunk of gameplay is basically the rest of the police station. Now that Leon's cleared the way, we now have access to the prison. Albeit the dogs, George and Rocket, are now free. Those aren't George and Rocket, that's just police dogs that they have for some reason. And incidentally, Resident Evil Remake actually did kind of fix this, actually, in having, more cages for the dogs, so it kind of makes sense that there are more Cerberus dogs running about, so, they fixed that. If only they could have fixed the zapping mechanics, so it actually, made something worth a shit. But anyway, with zombie dogs, as I mentioned previously, tank the hits or get them into a pattern. The choice is yours, Neo. And in here we'll find the, the torn-apart corpse of Ben Bertolucci. Hey there, Ben. Always looking for a big scoop? Well, it looks like you just became a big scoop. Let's examine his body. The body has been torn apart. It appears something from the inside. Also, I don't think I ever really picked up on that, but I'm pretty sure the G-Virus was, I don't want to say directly ripped off, but pretty much made as, straight up alien. you know, the xenomorph and that sort of thing. Which actually has me very curious, because, I mean, I know Resident Evil has always kind of took from popular action movies, but especially with Japanese developers in the 90s, I'm not sure whether as an attempt to sell to a worldwide audience, or for, you know, just for the sake of the fact that they were inspired by the media itself and wanted to make something based on that sort of product. I actually have to wonder, like, in game development during the 90s, was it just like a standard clause for developers to create their games based on products if they couldn't score the license? Guys, I mean, this isn't exactly exclusive to Resident Evil either, because, I mean, originally Resident Evil 1 was meant to be, you know, a remake of Sweet Home for the PS1. In fact, the only reason we didn't get it was because they lost the movie rights, because I guess it reverted back to the film company that held the rights, so... Yeah, funny that. Especially considering the fact that Resident Evil came on to be the success that it was, so, in the alternate dimension where we got Sweet Home for the PS1, who knows how survival horror would have been shaped as we know it. Because, I mean, when it comes to, like... Well, then again, it might be a little bit different for Japanese movie tie-ins. Well, I mean, not really, because, I mean, we had The Ring Terror's Realm, and that was, not very good, so... Who knows? Maybe that would have maybe that would have been one of the few movie adaptations that was, good. Then again, I don't really know many people who've actually seen Sweet Home. And I'm not really saying that from, like, a snobby position either, because I haven't seen it either. I do want to, though. I mean, I really, you know, want to see if the movie compares to the game. Which I did have a bit of experience with back during my emulator days, like from 2010 to 2015. I really should play it again, though. I mean, I enjoyed it, I just didn't beat the game because it was kind of hard. But then again, I was younger and more foolish, and perhaps I've gotten better as time has gone on. Probably not. But yeah, anyway, more rooting around the sewers, and, well, we will be getting to that at the very end of the part. Because... this is Cleaning Out the Police Station, Part 2 of Part 5 of Part 7, Scene 1, Act 4. But yes, in this part we also will be re-encountering a lot of our old friends like the Zombies and Mr. Extreme Dude. There should have been like an alternate, like, costume option for Mr. X. He's like dressed up in complete, like, 90s grunge rock gear, like ripped jeans, flannel shirt, like a Kurt Cobain wig. Kind of surprised the remake didn't do that, actually, as like an alternate mode. That would have been like the perfect way to encapsulate the 90s spirit, rather than having like USB drives and shit. Because I mean, like... I think I might have brought this up before, but like, I mean, if you just like removed the fact that it was taking place in 1998, wouldn't the Resident Evil remake look like it could take place in the modern day? Like, I mean, you don't exactly see Claire or Leon whipping out their, like, smartphones and taking selfies or anything, but, like, I mean, besides very rare contextual stuff, like, not even the fashion, like, I mean, I'm talking mainly in terms of, like, aesthetics and set dressing, like, I mean, they went out of their way to update, you know, Sherry's look for the remake, which is less, you know, Japanese schoolgirl and more, like, you know, preppy, private school sort of shit. So, you know, it was necessary in that area, but, like, I mean, for a lot of the, like, Leon's casual look before you get to the police station in the remake, you know, that's, you know, 90s-ish enough. I don't know, I'm just kind of talking shit, really, but, yeah, something about the I don't know, I'm just hyper at the moment. Forget what I'm saying, it's just inane ramblings into a microphone. And here you will truly get to see the power of the grenade launcher and why it is by far one of the most useful weapons in the game, really. Look at this horde of zombies. Freaky, huh? Well, let's take them all down. How tasty. And I suppose this also might be another example, and again, I keep on mentioning this all throughout the commentary as a bit of a running theme for Resident Evil 2, and its inclusion of action. Whether or not this adds or takes away from the fear. And again, as I mentioned before, and as I'm going to continue to mention to my dying days, and a little bit of a rant plan I actually have for the Silent Hill 2 review. That should already be out by the time you've already seen this, so this kind of goes to show you when this recorded. Yeah, I don't exactly see action necessarily being the death of horror, because, like, I mean, even though you are armed to the teeth with a grenade launcher, it's really more about what the game does to put you on edge, and that can happen in a variety of ways, in terms of atmosphere, in terms of, you know, what the game does to pit you against the circumstances. Like, I mean, again, I know I kind of shoot my argument with a face with the previous scene of taking out all those zombies with a grenade launcher, but, you know, the fact that you are surrounded by a horde of the dead, you know, you have undead creatures like the Licker and, you know, Mr. X, creatures that can very easily take you out if you're not careful, no matter how armed to the teeth you are. You know, that's the sort of shit that I think Resident Evil did best, you know, always adding in those little surprises that, you know, on paper, and, you know, if you were looking at it from a detached perspective, like a lot of, you know, internet reviewers and all those sorts of people do for the sake of jokes and, analysis and that sort of thing, it's the sort of thing where, you know, if you're trying to experience that, like if you were playing the game yourself, or if you were put into that situation, you know, in a reality context, you would be scared shitless, because, you know, it's a scary situation, and God knows I don't want to be facing off against Mr. X, because he would probably lift me up and, I don't know, rip my spine out and floss his teeth with it, play a game of basketball with it, take it home to his son, Mr. X Jr., to play with. Also, I thought a liquor was going to jump out, or maybe that was just for the A scenario, and they took it out to make you paranoid and urinate your pantaloons in fear if you were expecting a liquor. But instead, in this room, you will be mindlessly on your way, unsuspecting of something much, much worse that is yet to come. The interview room, where Brian Irons no doubt avoided those allegations about molesting women, which is actually a little bit of a document you can actually find in here. Because, yeah, Brian Irons, as you could no doubt tell by his very sane interest in taxidermy, yeah, was indeed part of a university scandal which involved the molestation of, you know, people. So, yeah, he's not exactly the best of people, as you will no doubt see towards the end, because we will be meeting him again. But first, it's Mr. X. Dun! Now, the key to knowing where Mr. X is, and admittedly this was a bit of a bright tell, both in the original and the remake, as I mentioned before, with the music cue that he has. You know, in the remake they try to make it a little bit more subtle with this, like, soft dubstep sort of shit, but here you can tell where he is by the dun music, so yeah, does it take the surprise away, or does it make Mr. X more of a towering, imposing figure? I prefer to go for the latter option, but I can see why some people tend to find the music cheesy. But I'm sure we will have no trouble with him at all. Mr. X, dun! So yeah, now we're going to be showing you exactly what happens when Mr. X is, well, taken out. Because you can indeed fight him off. Oh no, it ruins horror, because, you know, you can fight back and you're not just surrendering and pissing your pants and dying, because that's true fear, apparently, in the modern generation. So yeah, get out your acid rounds and go to town on him. From a safe distance, preferably. Not really helped by the camera angle, but then he's like, oh, down I go. And as a reward, you do get ammunition from him, and it's a sort of thing where you can stop him for a little bit, but that doesn't guarantee he'll be stopped for good, because he will be right back on your trail. In fact, if you beat him the first time, one of the cutscenes that you do get is a cutscene of Mr. X getting back up after the door loading screen, so yeah, don't let your guard down so easily. The remake actually did kind of make this whole thing a little bit more interactive to a certain extent, because, I mean, you can shoot him down and he will stay down for a little bit, but then you can actually see him getting up and continue to chase you all throughout the police station, you know. And again, since this isn't, you know, segregated by, you know, loading doors or anything like that, yeah, he can still pose a bit of a threat, because, you know, he can pursue you all throughout it, which, again, is the modernizations that I do like about Resident Evil 2 Remake. Right, all in the right places, really, you know. Mr. X can pursue you, but now he can do it all throughout the police station in a bit of an alien isolation sort of thing. I mean, granted, he doesn't chase you into save rooms, so thank goodness for that, although, then again, that could have made for an interesting mode, kind of like the, you know, realistic item box sort of thing they had with the Resident Evil 1 Remake. You know, he follows you into save rooms, you know, follows you into the women's bathroom because he has no respect for, you know, people. Because, you know, there is absolutely no crime worse than, jumping in on somebody taking a piss. Or so I think. But anyway, now for an implementation of the zapping mechanic. Now then, well, besides giving me an excuse to listen to this beautiful piano piece again, yeah, that's basically what I was talking about with the A scenario. You could use the chord to have a rolling shutter go down and the zombies wouldn't enter, but again, if you still had that up during the B scenario, yeah, the rolling shutter would fail, things would go up and the zombies pile in. But then again, if you know what you're doing, you can actually clear that area out without any sort of trouble on the player's part, so yeah, rewards skillful playing, but has a bit of a safety blanket there for those who are pretty careless or, you know, just want the security of not being overrun by zombies. The remake would actually also do something similar with this as well, not necessarily with the rolling shutters, but with the wooden board mechanic, which you can find like wooden planks and boards which you can use to nail windows together, because the remake did sort of expand this to all breakable windows where zombies can just sort of pile in. So yeah, interesting mechanic, which, you know, it's not much, but something that helps. Not exactly realistic, because I mean it does kind of work in a similar manner to how the Call of Duty Zombies mode worked, where you just press the square button and wait for boards to build up and you get money from it for some reason. I don't know. I enjoyed the Zombies mode though. It's arcadey goodness fun! Which probably doesn't even have... Actually, does Call of Duty Zombies even have, like, the Zombies mode in the Black Ops games anymore? Like, I heard they turned into, like, a Battle Royale shit earlier on, which sucks. Oh, fuck it, there's probably a reason why I stopped after Black Ops 3. But anyway, will we go into the garbage chute flyboy? Oh no, we don't. We just get the other half of the seal. Well, it wouldn't be a Resident Evil game if we didn't have needless puzzle solving. But, yeah. Well, I mean, I will say that it is a lot less convoluted than the original Clock Tower puzzle, well, the later Clock Tower puzzle that we had in the Resident Evil 2 remake. Which just involves shifting gears around more than just finding one to put one in. I love convenience. It's so tasty. It's Mr. X. But we're not going to deal with him, we're going to run away to the back of the wall. Oh. Oh, we will take him out with acid rounds. Oh, down I go. Bleh. So yeah, that's the end of Mr. X, and he gives us now some tasty G rounds. They aren't G-virus rounds, because they're gangster rounds. Because we got a gangster virus running around. Actually, I'm curious though. I mean, it probably was explained in like the Wesker reports or like some fact file of Resident Evil somewhere elsewhere, or maybe in Code Veronica somewhere. But what exactly is Mr. X? Like, is it just a specifically made tyrant? Because I mean, the only difference between this and the prototype that we saw in Resident Evil 1 is that I don't think it exposes its you know, vital organs in its heart. I don't know. I can't remember. It's been a while since I've been a massive Resident Evil superfan. I was, again, I was honestly more of the Silent Hill guy when it comes to survival horror franchises, so yes, Resident Evil just kind of passes me by a little bit. But nonetheless, we finally have another piece of the puzzle, which we're going to use to finally get out of this godforsaken place. And I suppose since I was on a bit of a Brian Irons tangent last time, I might as well go into a little bit more detail as to what he was doing here. Basically, well again, as you will learn when we encounter him again, Umbrella screwed him over because he wasn't getting his kickbacks, and he found out that Umbrella was betraying him. And, I'm not sure whether or not this has anything to do with Wesker's intervention, you know, him going rogue and everything, or if this was just, something that, you know, Dr. William Birkin was doing, or basically a whole kerfuffle between Umbrella and William Birkin not wanting his research taken away, resulting in the deaths of dozens and thousands of people, and, well, the whole city just going to hell. I don't know, it's interesting to think about, but I mean, besides all this, he basically just spread ammunition and health all across the police station, which, in a surprising turn of events, is actually a nice way to explain why we keep on finding these objects in mysterious places. I mean, I don't know, name any other video game that does that sort of thing. Well, I mean, most video games don't even really have these sorts of healing items or anything anymore. It's usually, it's either chalked up to regenerating health or, like, a one-hit kill sort of shit. Who knows? Maybe the police officers died because Brian Irons was hunting them and taking them back to his office so he could perform taxidermy. Well, I mean, he does that in the remake. He takes them to the orphanage where he set up a little taxidermy shop. Or at least so I assume. I mean, I seem to remember that being a place you could visit in the remake as during the Sherry Birkin stealth section. Whatever. Speaking of Sherry Birkin, we're about to encounter her right now. Just as soon as we go through the door. She'll be very happy to see us. Or so I assume.
Claire! Sherry, you're okay.
I'm glad to see you're safe, Claire.
Well, isn't that sweet? We now have our little sweetheart back in our possession again. Now, we use this little painting thing after getting the Chief's diary where he doesn't talk about jizzing in his pants, about stuffing a baby deer because, what the fuck, remake? Again, I know I mentioned this last part, but I really don't like the fact that they kind of made Brian Irons more, like, generically evil. Well, I mean, he's generically evil in Resident Evil 2, the original as well, but I mean, like, it was done with a sense of, like, playfulness, in the sense that it made him more creepy than it was, like, I don't know, generically, I'm an evil bad guy, grr, I'm an angry fat man. I don't know, it sucks and I just don't like it. But now we've found the elevator and we can get out of this cursed hellhole.
Claire! I'm going down there. Stay here and wait for me, okay?
And speaking of Brian Irons, we're about to enter a place which feels very, out of left field for Resident Evil. Well, I mean, like, pre-Resident Evil 4, considering that was kind of Devil May Cry territory as well. Whatever, we're about to enter an area that I like to call Kagero Deception 2, because that's all the medieval torture devices down here remind me of. Speaking of which, I really should cover Kagero Deception 2. Interesting game. One that actually has had sequels recently, so... irrelevancy, I guess? Whatever. Anyway, we're about to encounter the Chief. So now, since we have his mail, I think it's about time we delivered some mail to the Chief, baby.
So you've made it this far. Not bad, girl. But I'm not letting anyone leave my town. Everyone's gonna die.
Calm down, Chief. What happened?
Shut up! You couldn't possibly understand what's happened. Those monsters from Umbrella have destroyed my beautiful town. How could they do that to me after everything I've done for them?
So it's true. You have been working with Umbrella. Then you must know about the G-Virus. What is it? Tell me!
If you must know, it's the agent that can turn humans into the ultimate bioweapons. Superior to the T-Virus in every way. Dr. William Birkin is the genius behind the project.
William Birkin?
I'm sure you've already seen his little girl running around here somewhere. Sherry, isn't it? In case you haven't already figured it out, the monster that's been tearing my precinct apart is yet another product of the G-Virus. An ultimate bioweapon. Umbrella must be trying to cover its tracks. But if I have to go, I'm going to take you with me. What the?
Okay then, I'm sure that Brian Irons and William Birkin have a lot to catch up on, so let's just ignore him for now. Or whatever that mysterious hand was, because speaking of William Birkin, we're about to see him pretty soon. I'm sure nothing will... Okay. Well, there's a dangerous monster down there that ripped him in two, so let's go down there and explore the fun-filled monster thing, which I'm sure will have absolutely no relevance whatsoever. Claire, you're just full of smart thinking ideas. Oh well, look who it is. It's Mr. William B. right here. There's a nice player. I think I might take it for myself. Oh, there's another human down here. You know, this just makes me want to grow in muscle mass and size. So yeah, this is an earlier phase of Dr. William Birkin, so he's nothing really to worry about in terms of boss strategy. Just run and shoot, run and shoot, run and shoot, and avoid his strikes. And I guess something I should actually mention in between the... Yeah, you see, he really is nothing when compared to the power that is the acid rounds. But yeah, to talk a little bit more in terms of the A and B scenario for Claire specifically. In the A scenario, William Birkin plays a much bigger role, because, well, you know, he's correlating with the main storyline. And part of the reason why, you know, the generally accepted canon for this is Claire A, Leon B, because, you know, Claire deals with the heart of the story, so naturally she should be first, you know, with Sherry and everything, and then Leon deals with the nitty-gritty details, which, you know, intersects with Ada Wong's purpose. So, yeah, there are a few story differences that I will point out here and as well as the next part, but again, if you let Brian Irons, well, if you go back to his office, you can actually see him get throat-fucked by, you know, William Birkin in a similar manner to what happened with Ben. So, yeah, pretty creepy. I'm pretty sure Ben still has the same fate, you know, getting throat-fucked by Dr. William Birkin. What you also fight down there after, you know, Brian Irons dies is basically the fact that he has a little bit of a semi-boss fight that you have. I mean, you've probably already seen it in Leon's scenario with the little creature that just squirms away into the sewers and you have to do battle with it. Yeah, one of the more annoying fights, actually, but nonetheless, it's one that you can deal with if you're quick about it.
Claire, you came back!
I can't believe the man who developed the G-Virus is actually her father.
What's wrong, Claire?
It's nothing. But I think I found a way out of here. We should be able to find someplace safe if we can just make it out of town.
But...
Don't worry, I'll protect you. I promise. But you have to make sure you don't leave my side.
You know what, I just realized something. In both scenarios, you were basically gonna take Sherry down the lift and you're gonna be seeing some serious shit. Like, I mean, I'm pretty sure Claire didn't do anything to hide Brian Irons' body, so this is gonna be very awkward for Sherry, although, then again, if she wasn't screaming and crying throughout the rest of the zombie apocalypse-filled halls, then I guess this is probably no different. No, even still, like, I mean, being a little kid, I don't exactly know how I'd react to seeing a corpse that was just sort of torn in half. Well, I mean, then again, her father was hunting her, so... And I think, well, I think the remake implicitly tells us that she knows it's her father. I don't know if the original version of Sherry knows, though, so, I think she does, I'm not too sure. Gotta maybe pay more attention to the cutscenes. Now, Sherry, look over here. You can see a man who's been bisected. You can see his liver, his lungs, his trachea. Kinda reminds me of, actually, I can't remember what it reminds me of. It's probably for the best that, we just move on swiftly and ignore the nitty-gritty details that, you know, show us blood and gore or whatever. Who knows, I'm just panning out for time, because next time on the Resident Evil 2 commentary, now that we're finally out of the police station, we now have bigger problems on our hands. Not just Dr. William Birkin, but a certain familiar face that'll be known to us. So, I'm Solidus-Skully, keep it new metal, and I'll see you later, dudes and dudettes.
Come on, let's get out of here.